A number of people actually talk about planning the exit strategy as like planning your last third of your life to make it the best third of your life. Because everybody starts a business starting off saying, I want the freedom, the financial freedom, the time freedom. And then when at the end, some people forget why they started their business. So we're going to be talking about that today, and we're going to be talking about different solutions that you can use to actually plan your exit or decide whether or not you want an exit. But the most important thing is we're going to be drawing on a lot of questions, and hopefully you're able to find over the course of the next few months or during this presentation some of your own answers, because each and every person, especially if they're an entrepreneur, they're on a journey. Years ago, a good friend of mine shared with me that the people in our society who have the greatest potential to self-actualize happen to be business owners, because they get to choose their own course. So what I'd like to talk about is, how do you know that it's time for you to plan your exit? Because that's so important when you know it's time to go. So basically there's 5 key indicators that each business owner should ask themselves. Should ask themselves if it's time. 1, age. When I was young, well, a lot of people say I'm still young. When people are young, they feel they can take on the world. And then as they get older, they realize the world was here before they were. So usually around age 50 to 65, a lot of people feel that, I've achieved my goals, or maybe my goals have changed. I want to enjoy things. I speak to many business owners who share with me that they never traveled when they were young. They never really enjoyed their kids as much as they would have liked. They never sat down and just enjoyed a sunset, because they were always thinking about building, growing, the responsibilities they had. And now what they like to do is step back from their lives and just enjoy what they've created. Number 2, fatigue. I'm just tired doing the same thing that I've always done. And one thing that's really interesting is the generation that's about to retire or about to enter a different stage of their lives, they're so different than Generation Y. I was going to say Generation X, but Generation X is like a transitional generation, where you'll never see someone doing the same thing for a career. So people are tired. They want to do something else. Maybe they love golf. Maybe they just want to, just sit back and enjoy. Maybe they want to consult. So fatigue. They don't want to make widgets anymore, or door frames, or windows, or run franchises. So they're just tired. Money. They've got enough money. That is, they realize, why did I do whatever I did? I didn't do it just to, just to make these things. I wanted to provide the freedom for myself and my family. And I have the money now. And that might be an indication for them that they can leave. The future doesn't look so great for the industry. And I'm thinking about today. We happen to be in Toronto doing this presentation. And this used to be called the schmutta industry. The schmutta, the clothes manufacturing. All these buildings in this area, they used to manufacture clothing. Well, we all know that clothing manufacturing is no longer happening in Canada. We're focusing on our brain power and that type of industry. So the future might not look so great. So maybe I should get out when the going is good and pass on my business and the potential challenges of my business to someone who's got the energy to navigate it. And partners. Maybe I don't like the people I'm working with anymore. Maybe I want a change of scenario, and I just don't want to do it anymore. When people are young, a lot of times they partner up with people who have different strengths than them. And maybe it's tiring. I know a lot of partners who work with each other day in, day out. They spend so much time, but they have no social interaction with each other, because when they leave the office, they say, you go your way, I go my way. And maybe they forget that they were friends once and they want to become friends again, and the only way to do that is to leave. So those are the drivers of people deciding that they might want to leave what they're currently doing in their business. So the big thing, how does someone decide really that they no longer want to run their business and they want to start planning their exit, their strategic retreat? That's what I like calling it, a strategic retreat. They're no longer looking at growing their empire. They want to actually consolidate and enjoy what they've created. And the key is, what is your magic number? Most people don't know their magic number. And what a magic number is, it's what do you need for the rest of your life to give you the quality of life that you have chosen. Most people just have this notion, you know, I'm going to make $5 million and I'll have a great life. I'm going to have $10 million and I'm going to have a great life. But they really don't know what their number is. And I'll give you an example. Let's say I want to look at my quality of life that I want to have. Well, I want to be able to travel, let's say, a few times a year. So I got to price that out. I'd like to have a cottage. I have to price that out. I want to be able to help my kids and my grandkids, price that out. I also have to be practical, knowing that, you know, there's a saying about retirees. When people first retire, they call them the go-go retirees. And that's usually 65 to 75. And then they have from 75 to 85, they call that the slow-go retirees. And unfortunately, after 85, they call that the no-go retirees. And what's really important to understand about and I know you know, it's a funny terminology too, the no-go. But stats have shown this, that if you live to age 85 and beyond, 50% of us will have Alzheimer's. 50% of us. And most people never plan for that. That if you look at the stats of healthcare, most of the expenses of a person in the healthcare system, whether they're paying for it personally or the government is paying for it, happens the last 5 years of life. So most people, when they're planning in their number, they say, well, you know, I'm not going to have a mortgage. I'm not going to be paying for my kids' education. I don't need so much money as much as I have right now. I only need 70% of what I currently make. Well, I'd say that number is completely wrong, because you have to plan that there's going to be a balloon payment at the end of your life. And a lot of people might say, you know, life expectancy today happens to be for a man 79, for a woman 82. Well, at the turn of the 20th century, life expectancy was 43. So we're seeing a huge growth with life expectancy. And the issue, and we all talk about how that's so wonderful, but we're not looking at the quality of life. Because if I don't have the proper amount of money to have the life I want, so then I'm not going to have a quality of life. And that's the biggest problem that business owners have, is they don't know their number, and they don't know why they're working for what they're working towards, and they don't know, after they make that transition from being a business owner, basically building a nest egg for themselves to have choice, they don't know what they're going to do. And that is so important. That's why the number also is tied into what are you going to do. I've spoken to people who say, you know, I'm going to take up golf. So my question is, do you golf now? I don't golf now. So what makes you think you're going to golf later? And that's like, that is so important that you have to sit down. So much of the decisions that any business owner is going to make are non-financial. But they do tie into financials, because whatever you decide you want to do after you are going to be your work life, it's going to be tied to your magic number, because what good is having all these dreams that you don't have the means to actually live out your dreams? I've been asked that question. Who's the trusted advisor? Well, it's really simple. It's who you designate. It's the person you go to. In different circumstances, it might be a different person. So you have to look for someone who is a generalist, someone who knows all the areas, and they might have specific specialties, but they can manage the task. My partner and I, what we call ourselves, are problem solvers. Someone comes to us with a problem. a tax problem, a structuring problem, and what we focus on, okay, how do we best mitigate that problem? Because we might be able to get rid of it, or we might be able to lessen it. And then what we do is after we've come up with a solution, now we've got to find out who might need to assist us. So we got to go to the accountant. We got to go to a lawyer to paper it. Maybe we have to go and bring in a third-party buyer, or maybe we have to bring in a business evaluator. And in essence, that's your go-to person. That's the person who understands how all these parts move together. Unfortunately, there's very few people who actually do that in our society, because most people aren't generalists, they're specialists. And the way to become a generalist is you most likely have been a specialist in an area, and in essence, because of the complexity, you've had to learn about other areas as well. But that person also knows, and has to know, their weaknesses as well, and have strategic relationships with other professionals who can help the business owner. So the business owner said, I say you need a business evaluator because this is why we need it, because we've got to know what your business is worth. So then we can, after we figure that out, then we can go to a strategic buyer or a third-party fund to purchase your business. Well, then the business owner says, well, that's great. We need to get a business evaluator. I don't know one. Do you know a good one? Well, if I haven't actually worked with one, then it's just theory. It's a great idea. You want to find someone who has those strategic relationships. People want great service. They go to a restaurant because they want everything taken care of for them, and they want to make sure that there's quality. And this is something that someone has to do. And remember, when you're dealing with a trusted advisor, you're buying someone who's focusing up here. They have the ability to deal with complexity and plan 5-10 years in advance. And you have to ask those questions to them and find out if that is the person for you, because you have to look at whether they're, first, if they're competent, number two, are they committed to excellence, and third, are they care about you? Because what good is if someone's competent and they don't give, they don't think about you, it's all about the money. You don't want that either, because you're at the point where you're starting to value relationships. That's why you want out, right? I want to spend time at the cottage and whatever. And in essence, you want to sit down and reflect, but you need someone who's competent, and then someone who's going to look out after your interests and has those relationships to help you, who's going to manage everything.